Hello, burger babies. It's like, hello, my little fellow tangies. I hope you are going to enjoy this episode. I decided to do a visual video because for some odd reason, when I just do audio, my audio sounds really weird. It sounds like really muffled, and I don't like the fact that it sounds super muffled. So we're going to try a visual one to see if it looks better. So for those who don't know me, my name is Nicola. Um, I am, if you know me, you know that I decided to go back to school. I went to CCP for a couple of years and I decided to major in communications, but now I'm at Temple. Ooh, ooh, go Owls. And I am now majoring in public relations and I am also going to be majoring in journalism. So I want to kind of see like what's my niche, like what's my thing, what do I like to do? Do I want to be in front of the camera or would I rather be behind the camera? So this is me kind of like testing the waters to see where do I fit in the world of communications. Um, so with this channel, I'm hoping to talk about all things. So that's politics, that's social media, that's pop culture, that's hood chronicles. So the whole who should pay for the first date, um, how can men be more masculine, all those little dumb topics that people like to talk about. But I also want to talk about politics, and maybe if this does really well, I may start bringing on other people so that way I can really get into my tangents and I can really get into the nitty gritty of it all. But today, let's talk about microaggressions, and let's just talk about full-blown aggressions. So what I mean by microaggressions, have you ever worked in an area, let's say if you're black or you're Latino or you're Asian or you're Mediterranean, and you worked in an office that was predominantly white, and you are the one of two minorities in your office, and you get all the microaggressions. Um, so what I mean by that, like for example, if there's a TV show called Next Gen X, it's like the Real Housewives kids. They all have like the TV shows to see kind of like how they navigate the world in New York City. And one of the characters, her name is Riley. She's the daughter of Candy Burrs. I think that's how you say her name. But Candy is like hip hop R&B royalty. Like she is that girl. She was that girl. Will always forever be that girl. She out here making music, singing the songs like no tomorrow, and she is writing some of the top hits that we have come to learn and love. If I learn how to edit, you'll be seeing like little edits right here of her little credits. But yeah, she's amazing. Candy is that girl. So her daughter's on the show, Riley. Riley obviously grew up with a very much so of a silver spoon in her mouth. Because once again, her mother is Candy. Yeah. So she's on the show where she's like one of two black girls, but the other black girl is like, I want to say she's full black, but I can't remember her name right now, but she's the daughter of Dame Dash, and her mom is a model, and now she's a model. But she does not really. It feels like she does not understand why Riley gets upset about the things that she gets upset about. It's almost like she doesn't get it. Like it doesn't make sense to her. It doesn't register to her. So whenever Riley's like coming to her and she's like complaining about the microaggressions that she's getting, like one of the characters on the show, he's like 30. He's old as hell. Riley's like in her very early 20s, and he's like, "Yeah, you were so mean to those little girls." And Riley was like, just because I'm tall and they're short and petite does not make them little girls. Like they're probably older than me, which they probably are. Because once again, Riley's in her early 20s. This guy's like in his late 20s, so it's a good chance those women are like a little bit closer to his age. Anyway, he was saying like she was talking like this with her hands, like, "Oh, you better." And it was really just rude. And Riley even called him out on that. She was like, "When do I ever talk like that? When have you ever seen me talk like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, but," he was like, "Okay, well, maybe you weren't doing that exactly." She's like, "Okay, well, why did you feel like that was the way for you to describe me?" And you could tell it was actually hurting her feelings by the way how she was reacting. You could tell it was like obviously hurting her feelings. And nobody else like in the group really like stood up and said anything. They kind of just let him say these things. And it kind of seemed like in the midst of it, people were more so defending him versus defending her. Like there were some people that were calling him out, but they were not calling him out until Riley was like standing like really firm on the whole. You're being rude, you're being disrespectful, you're trying to say something that I'm not, and I don't like that. I'm not going for that. And it's sad that she even had to go that far to even defend herself because if I say that's not how I speak, that's not how I carry myself, please do not insinuate that. And you still keep going like, oh well, you were doing all of this and all of that, and that's not who she is. Like once again, she's literally a daughter of hip hop royalty. Why would she ever need to act like that? That's like if, okay, Northwest. We all see how Northwest acts on her little videos. Do she need to act like that? Hell no. Look at who her mother is. It's very obvious she grew up in Calabasas. She grew up around the best of the best. It's like if Blue Ivy acted like that. Like, girl, your mother is Beyonce. You, Blue Ivy has never seen the ceiling in her life. Blue Ivy, Blue Ivy would probably see something in my house that I think is pretty like upscale and probably be like, oh, that's so cute. Me, cute. Oh, I'm poor. Okay. Like Riley has grew up in a very like wealthy family. So for them to try to make it seem like she's this gutter, like little ghetto girl is like really insane and crazy. And the fact that she broke down in tears about it because obviously it hurt her feelings that bad. And she had to call her mom and her mom was like, that's messed up that he did that because if it was like one of those little white girls, he would never have done that, which is true. Because he was trying to call her something without blatantly calling her something. And it kind of sucks that nobody really stood up for her. I think the only other person, I hope I don't get her name wrong. I want to say her name is Gia. She's also another housewife kid. And she's like dark haired. And she was like, no, her name's not Gia. It's Ariana. It's Ariana. It's Ariana. She was like standing up for her and she was like, that's not how she is. That's not how she is. The reason why I mentioned Gia is because Gia is another real housewife of Jersey kid. And there was another microaggression towards Riley where they were all telling like their one friend about how her opening a club may not be a good idea. And Riley was like, it's a terrible idea. And everybody got on Riley about that, like, oh, why are you saying it's a terrible idea? Why are you saying it's a terrible idea? Which made Riley then stop and say, okay, maybe it's not a terrible idea, but I don't think it's a good idea. And everybody get really upset about Riley about it and saying like how rude she was. And Riley was like, we all said the same thing. And then Riley even took accountability and he said, okay, maybe how I said it was wrong, but we all said the same thing. And then Gia decides to say, excuse me, Gia decides to say, well, Riley, um, sometimes when you drink, you just get really abrasive. Where Ariana steps in and says, well, aren't we all drinking? Once again, is Gia trying to make it seem like she's trying to be very helpful and cute and be like, oh, let me help you out. But in reality, she's just being very like, it's not even a microaggression, it's a very low tone aggression. Because a microaggression is where they try to make it seem like you're something that you're not, as where that was just flat out just like full blown aggression. Because when Riley picked up on that, Riley wasn't even trying to argue with her back and forth. Riley just immediately just got up and just walked away because she saw how they were trying to paint her. And she has even said before, I don't like the fact that you guys are always trying to paint me out to be like this aggressive woman, and which I'm not. Like, I'm not that person. And she's not, because once again, she's hip hop royalty. Her mother is Candy. When has she ever in life had to be this crazy aggressive, like, who, like, she's never had to be that person. So for them to try to paint her out to be like this aggressive person is really sad. But honestly, when you look at just media just in general, media in general has this thing of always trying to paint black women out to be like super aggressive. That's why I don't like shows Baddies. I don't like shows um now in my adulthood, I can't watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I can't. I truly cannot watch shows like that. I cannot watch shows like Real Basketball Wives. I can't watch The Real Housewives because all it is just a bunch of black women tearing each other down like in the worst ways, and they're coming at each other, and instead of like them uplifting each other and making and like doing positive things, they're just tearing each other down. And I understand like when you're in reality like shows, you have to make create drama, but there can be drama, but it doesn't have to be beating each other up, pulling each other weaves, calling each other like bitches and hoes. Like, you don't have to do all of that to get your point across. And then some of the things that these women have said about each other on the show is freaking crazy in my opinion. Like, they've insinuated like taking advantage of one another. They insinuated them robbing one another. Like, they insinuated some pretty crazy things about each other. And I just hate the fact that it's black women that have to be like the forefront of it. Which once again, when little Abigail, who lives in Nebraska in a small town, somehow discovers Real Housewives, that's her first introduction to like what black women are like. Because in Nebraska, there's not that many black people. You understand what I'm saying? There's not that many black people in Nebraska. So when she sees Real Housewives, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, or just goes on social media and she sees these black men doing the stereotypical what they think how black girls act, And I just hate that so much because these are all like when men make those videos of like how women act and they put like the shirt on their head to make it seem like it's a wig or whatever, or they actually put a wig on their head and they put like the super bright, non-flattering lipstick on their lips and they're doing the whole no girl, like they do all that. I hate that. It is the most aggressive thing in the world because you're just pushing the stereotype of what people already think what black women is. So then when black women like myself have to go into the world and have to go into the professional setting and people see us for the first time, all they see is that stereotype. All they see is this this ghetto gutter butt individual, but in reality that's not who we are. That's not who we are. Black women, first of all, black women, body is tea, face is tea, intelligence is tea, emotional intelligence is tea, your survivor skills is tea. Everything about black women is fucking gold. Let me just say this again. Everything about black women is fucking gold. We are the blueprint. Without us, there is nobody else. When people want to say, well, I got this from this, no, baby, it was inspired by black women. Let's just be so for real. Black women are the blueprint. We are the blueprint. When it comes down to fashion, us. Makeup, us. The way how you carry yourself, us. The way how you dress, us. The way how you do anything is from black women. So the fact that black women are quite literally the blueprint for a lot of things, and the fact that people find ways to tear us down and to belittle us is really sickening because it's like, what did we ever do to anybody? What did we ever do besides just exist in our skin? And yet we get torn down every 2 seconds. That's why I feel for Riley so bad because, like, she literally just graduated. Her mom told her she has a year to figure it out before her mom cuts her off financially. So she's just trying to figure her way out in the world to make sure that she can survive on her own. And the show's a great way because it can get her new connections. It's an easy way to network. But throughout the show, everyone is trying to pin her out to be this overtly aggressive person that she's not. And it's almost like the white kids on the show, they understand that she has the most potential to like really be something and may not need the show for long term because she does have a gift. And instead of them trying to uplift her to make sure that she does not have to be on the show long term, they're finding every excuse to like tear her down and to keep her where they are, which I think is really just fucked up because it's like when you want to see her progress, when you want her to do great in life, when you want her to like do better, why are you so hell bent on like keeping her down? That's like that's the most fucked up thing. And like in my personal opinion, I think it's super fucked up because it's like you're not trying to see her do better. You don't want to see her do better. And she didn't even do anything. That's the fucked up part to me. Like she didn't even do anything to you for you to have this kind of like weird ass vendetta against her. All she quite literally is doing is just like existing in her own skin and it's not enough for people. I genuinely don't understand that. I genuinely just do not understand that because it's like if this was anybody else in in Riley's shoes, like let's say it was a white girl and she came from like hip hop royalty or like country royalty and she got on the show, people would treat her differently. People would treat her differently. They would say, "Yo, you know who her mom is? You know who her dad is? Like she's that girl. Like she's that girl." And everybody would try to be like her friend and try to like be all up in her face. But instead, because she's black, they're trying to find ways to tear her down. Which once again is like it's so sad because she's so young. I want to say she's no more than like 22. I want to say she's no more than 22. And the fact that at 22, she's hanging around people who are like in the same tax bracket as her, and you can still see like they're still like tearing her down is really just so sad because it's like she didn't do anything to any of these people. All she did was just exist in her own skin, and nobody's ever happy about that. And it's just so sad because black women really go through that all the time. Like, I remember I've worked at certain jobs. I won't say the company's names, but if you know me from 2015 to 2016, there was a certain store in the mall that I worked at, and I hated I hated that job. There was a store manager there that every time she could make a dig or a shot at me, she took it. And mind you, this was an older woman. She wasn't like too older. I was like 21, 22, so she was like in her late 20s. I know she was turning 30 when I first started there. And every time she could make a dig at me, she took it. Whenever she had a chance to like throw a shot at me, she did. Like if you see like how I'm constantly like covering my stomach because one, I'm insecure about it, but two, but I'm mainly insecure about it because when I started working at that particular store, um she would always say things like, "Well, if you can't wear our clothes, you can't work here." And I was like, "Well, I can wear the clothes." And she's like, "Yeah, but you can't wear all the clothes." She's like, "You keep adjusting your shirts because your gut is constantly coming out." And I said, "It's not coming out. I just don't want it to be. I don't want to fully expose it." And she's like, "Well, yeah, but with that outfit, you have to expose it. But if you can't wear the clothes, you can't work here." And the clothes did come in the size that I was, so it was weird that she kept trying to insinuate like I was too big to wear the clothes because I really now looking back, I was not that big. I was not. I was not that big at all. And it's crazy because she really made me think in my mind like I was like 800, 900 pounds when really I was like 160. And I was actually, and after having just one kid, like 160, I was still, body was T. Body was T. Body was everything. Um, but she was just being like blatantly really like she had like all these microaggressions towards me and I did not understand it and it really fucked me up. And mind you, I was also 21. This was an older woman, and Riley is in the same situation. She's in her early 20s, and you have these people that are either close in age or older than her always trying to find a reason to attack her. And I don't understand it, and I just wish like I wish there was like more black people in the cast who grew up like in the same kind of like environment as Riley, or just fully black people who just was like who are just like no bullshit, don't tolerate that, and they'll just like defend her and say like you guys know that's not who she is. Stop trying to make it seem like she's like this thing. I'm sorry if the cracking kind of disturbed you. Body gets tight real fast. Um, but yeah, like there's nobody there to really truly defend her, and she's just kind of like on her own. And I wish she had more people like in her corner because it's just not fair. Like you know what I mean? Like when you think about it, it's like how many times, like, if you take like the black woman, okay, like the whole black woman thing out, and you just say in general, how many times do we as minorities just have to always feel like we have to defend ourselves against like our white counterparts? Like, how many of us were told, when you leave this house, you're a representation of me. You have to be twice as good just to get half of what they get. And we all know what that means. You have to be twice as good just to get half of what they get, and that's fucked up. Why do I have to go over and beyond to be something when my white counterparts don't even have to try that? That's the crazy part about it. My white counterparts don't have to try, but I have to damn near break my neck to be perfect. And I don't think people really look at it like that. But yeah, it's kind of sad that like if you like POCs, we always have to be like on edge. We always have to be like on A game. We always have to be like perfect and amazing because if not, like there's going to be somebody out there to try to tear us down, even when we think that we're doing everything right and we're excelling, we're working twice as hard, we're going over and beyond to get like to get the accolades. It's like if our white counterparts aren't tearing us down, another black counterpart is taking us down. Like I know black men feel this way. I know black men feel like, even if they're excelling, they're at the top of their career and everything else, they don't feel like they have black women in their corner, which from a black woman's perspective, is going to sound biased. I know it is. I don't feel like that because I feel like black women are black men's biggest cheerleaders, but I know black men feel as though that they don't get the same kind of respect that they see like their white counterparts get from like the white women or the Asian women or Latino women or Mediterranean women like in their community. But I also think that has to do with like a cultural thing as well. Like in in the black community in general, like not everybody will agree with this. I already know this because this is a hot take. So trigger warning for those who don't agree. A lot of us grew up in single mother households, or we were raised by our grandmothers, or we were raised by our aunts. So therefore, a lot of us grew up with our a lot of us grew up without a father around or like uncles around. We grew up around like a lot of women. So for a lot of us grew up around like a lot of female dominated families. So for me, I feel like in the black community, our community is a matriarch and not a patriarch. But I've noticed in the past, like I'll say like 5 to 10 years, black men have really tried to push the whole patriarchy in our community. Like black men are now having the conversation of, well, we need to lead the family. Like they want to be the leaders and they want to be like in charge of the family, like how their counterparts are of their families. And the problem with that is that if you grow up in a family that is mainly female dominated, and now this man is trying to come into your life and he says, "I'm the man, I'll take care of everything." When all you've ever seen all your life is women take care of everything, women control everything, you're not going to be so quick just to let a man in. You're not. You're not because it sucks to say, but if your father or your uncles or your grandpa was never there, and grandma, auntie, and mom was always ones working 2 to 3 jobs, putting food on the table, doing birthdays, doing Christmas, doing all these major things, going to graduations, taking you, when you see your mom and the other females in your family doing that, you're not going to be quick to let a man just come in and just take over. You know what I mean? And I feel like, especially now, I feel like black men need to give black women some grace in that area, because if because of the words, because if that's all that you ever seen growing up, the adjustment to now step out of that leader role and to let somebody else take over that leader role, it's not going to be an easy one, nor is it going to be a quick one. Now, do I think it's impossible? No. But this is why I say we need to give each other some grace. As a community, we need to give each other grace. Black women, do I think we need to take a step back? Yes. Absolutely. Black women, we need to become more feminine. We need to say, let a man take over. To just let somebody else like control the ship for a while, just so that way we can just relax and decompress, would do so much for our mental health. It's not even crazy. But with that same thing, black men, you can lead and you can want to lead, but you need to know how to be a leader. If you do not know how to be a leader, you should not try to be a leader. Now, are there moments where you may know how to lead? Yes. Are there moments where you may know how to lead? Yes. But if you realize you're in a situation that is unknown territory, it is okay to take a step back and to let that woman take over for you. To just blatantly say, no, I'm not letting no woman lead me. I'm not letting no woman control me. It's not about controlling you. It's about just saying, hey, listen, you don't know how to do this one particular thing. But I, on the other hand, am very familiar with this. Let me take over. Let me figure this out. Let me help you. So that way we as a collective can overcome. And I just feel like black men, when they're in this world and they're seeing how their other counterpart, how the other racial counterparts have their women just in check, and they just fall in line and just obey them. They want that for themselves, but the way how they go about it is actually very wrong and very hostile and potentially very dangerous. You can't. It's like, think of a horse. Like, if you ever seen like a wild horse like out in the wild, they don't get under control like that. It takes some time to get them to be like, to actually listen to the horse. I don't know what they're called. I want to say horse wrangler or something like that, but it takes them a while to like actually like fall in line, because the horse has been independent their whole entire life. Not saying that black women are horses, but like in the sense of like, that horse has been independent, taking care of itself its whole entire life. Now somebody else has decided, hey, I want that horse. So they capture that wild horse, and now they have to train the wild horse and have to show the wild horse, I know what's best. You have to follow my lead. Black men need to be able, black men need to be open and willing to say, black women, I know you have had it for all these years, but let me now try it. Because let's keep in mind, a lot of us grew up in single mother households. A lot of our fathers are, if not in jail because of some petty crime, um, either did because of, crime in the world, or they just completely said, I'm not doing this, and they just walked away. A lot of us have those kind of scenarios where dad just decided he's not going to be there, or dad was arrested, or maybe dad was a victim to getting addicted to drugs, or dad got arrested for like some petty crime. There's a lot of variables of why so many of us grew up in single mother's household. In those rare cases, it could have been your mom being bitter and keeping you away from your dad because she was upset about some shit. And instead of her putting her feelings aside, she decided to say fuck you and just, you know, have just raised you by herself, which I think is the most horrible thing a woman can do to her children long term. Tyler, the Creator's mom, on his new album, he has like a clip. His song is called Like Him, where she's telling him like, like, I apologize, like your dad always wanted to be there, but because I was young and dumb, I kept him away from you, and I apologize for that. That was a beautiful thing. That was her one taking accountability, her apologizing to him, her saying, like, her reassuring the fact that his dad always wanted to be here, but she was the problem. And a lot of women are not able to do that. um but that could also be, we don't know the full situation, so I'm just assuming that maybe it was a fear of letting a man come in and control the situation. She probably was like, I don't want to fully give up the control. And that's why I would say black women we need to take a step back and just learn how to let men control at times, or be the leaders at times. And until we can truly do that, we'll never find peace. But black men need to stop looking at their white counterparts or their Asian counterparts or their Hispanic counterparts or the Mediterranean counterparts and seeing like what they do in the world, because what they do will not work for you. And when you live in a world where you get nothing but microaggressions and aggressions day in and day out, a black woman is not going to want to come home to a black man now basically looking at her and is saying, "You need to obey me. You need to listen to me." Because then that becomes a whole problem within itself. Like, she just left work where this man was telling her what to do all day long, and then she comes home and the person who she's supposed to love is now looking at her on some, "You need to obey. You need to cook me a dinner after you just got done working. You need to take care of these kids after you just got done working." All these things after she just got done working as well. But it doesn't matter because now a black man is in his, "Oh, you need to obey me." It's not okay. We just need to collectively, as a community, learn how to respect one another. And I just, I love my people, but we got to do better. We really do. Between the microaggressions and the full blown aggressions that we get from people from the outside of our community, the aggressions or microaggressions we get within the community is so detrimental. Oh my God, it's so detrimental. It's so detrimental. Like, I want to see us strive and do better, but I just feel like that's never going to be the case because we're always looking over at what somebody else has. Like, you have 10 apples, but somebody over there has like a couple of oranges. And instead of you focusing on your 10 apples, you're trying to reach for the orange and you end up losing a couple of your apples in the process. And you don't see that you're losing your apples because you're really trying to get that fucking orange. Focus on what's here. Focus on here. And until we do that, we'll never really know peace within our community, which is why I think men are having these weird, silly conversations uh about 50-50 and about being leaders and about all this other stuff because they're so busy looking at other people's plate that they can't focus on their own plate. That's just my personal opinion. Um, but yeah, uh, to be a black woman or to be a woman in this world in general, and to see so many microaggressions day in and day out and no one really take accountability for that is very hurtful and very disheartening, which is why you have so many black women who are so hard in this world. And I really do think that if black women get more of the opportunity to be soft, they will take the opportunity to be soft. And we don't really get those opportunities much. um and to my white counterparts, we y'all need to do better. Y'all really need to do better. Y'all need to recognize that maybe the things you might say may come off as really aggressive, and just be mindful of that and try to do better. I'm not sure if you guys hear my kids outside my door, so I apologize for that. With that being said, thank you for listening to my tangent. I hope you guys really like it. If you do, leave some comments, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Once again, I'm going to school at Temple, woo woo, for PR and for journalism, and let me know if this fits, if this feels right, and also let me know how the audio sounded. I'm really curious about that as well. With that being said, it's been real. Bye.